Hello, and welcome to the first actual episode of the Nebulum Studios podcast. And again, we're exploring topics of fulfillment, creativity, and this podcast will explore a broad range of topics in that realm, as well as we might sometimes bring on different artists as guests. And but today it'll just be us.
Yeah. Today we're planning to discuss broader, philosophical topics, which will kind of lay the foundation for the other later things that we're going to talk about throughout the different episodes of this podcast. So it'll kind of help you and help us to get a sense of what our perspectives are on these topics, and basically help to demonstrate what we think is important in life and what kind of world we want to create.
Yeah. Cool. Let's angle towards each other so we can just...
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. I guess where we're going to start today is just around the topic of fulfillment, because Nebulum is about, fostering more fulfillment in the world. That's part of our mission. So, do you want to kick it off? Or?
Sure. I guess we can go into the etymology of fulfillment is feeling full. So not feeling like we're lacking something and trying to fill holes in ourselves. Because a lot of times we get distracted in the Western world by, putting our goals at I need to make X amount of money. I need to make 100,000. And, the thing that we see with people, with our psychology, is that we constantly are moving those goalposts. So by chasing these external, arbitrary goals, that doesn't get us to where we want to go. Mm-hmm. I think people think they want to be happy, and they think, if I make this X amount of money, then I'll be happy. But actually, that ends up disappointing a lot of people. And so what we're really trying to ask is what do we want in life? What is important? What kind of feeling are we going for here? And I feel like what you and I both believe right now is really what people truly want is to be fulfilled in life. Mm-hmm. And to feel whole and complete. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't mean you just sit around on the couch, because it's not. Well, we'll get into that, but that's my quick intro on what I think fulfillment is, and we can go into the ingredients of that in a sec, but wanted to pass it off.
Yeah, so I can kind of try to define fulfillment from my perspective. I mean, it is obviously a thing that's kind of hard to define. It's a little nebulous, but I mean, it rotates around, feeling resonant and feeling aligned with some deeper meaning, right? You wrote an article which we'll link in this podcast about fulfillment, and you mentioned meaning and how it connects to fulfillment. And I feel like that, I believe, is very true, because meaning, also a little hard to define, but it has to do with what you find important. It has to do with the things that you want to be a part of, the things that you want to do, the things that fuel your soul, basically, the people that fuel your soul, the actions that make you feel like this is what makes life worth living, in a sense. And, if you have more meaning in your life and you're doing the things that are meaningful to you and you're around the people that are meaningful to you, I feel like these things create fulfillment. And fulfillment is about, is my soul being fed? Do I feel whole, as you mentioned? Do I feel that I am resonating with what I'm doing? It's an intuitive feeling, and I think, we can learn to listen to that feeling more too, kind of examine, is this action in alignment with what makes me feel fulfilled, kind of thing. So yeah, just like kind of like disjointed ideas, but this, I think, circles around what fulfillment means to me. It's just that central thing of like feeling in alignment and feeling like your soul is being fed.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, what you said really like resonated with me was like feeling, does my soul feel fueled? Like,
Yeah.
do I, I think a lot of people confuse, what they want in life with, or fulfillment, for example, with pleasure. And it's like, oh, I want to buy this new car. That'll make me happy. But that's actually confusing with pleasure. And I think what people are really after is fulfillment. And these external things are actually trying to fill a void that is there because of the lack of fulfillment. And it is a resonant thing. It's something we attune to, and it's not something we can kind of just like say like, oh, I want to be fulfilled in the future, and then once I get there, then I'm done. It's like an ongoing process, and that speaks to like what you were saying with like the soul. It's like the soul is about presence, and it's like here right now, and so in that sense, we can kind of be fulfilled right now if we are aligned with. You mentioned meaning. Meaning's a huge thing in this whole like fulfillment theme, because meaning is kind of like our story, and so and it's all about what we find important. And part of fulfillment is taking action on what we feel to be important, what we value, and that produces a feeling of fulfillment because your compass is aligned in the direction, and you feel movement. But I know we also discussed like you don't really need a goal to feel fulfilled, and how it's more about who you're being in that moment. And that's totally what you were talking about with like the resonance. Like if I am aligned with who I'm being in this moment, and that's aligned with my meaning, and that feels resonant to me, and that feels like feeding my soul.
Yeah.
Like when I really focus on who I'm being in this moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the goalpost, or the North Star, as people sometimes like to call it, is more of a tool to align yourself with a particular path. Because it's not that when you get there, you'll be fulfilled, right? It's each step you take on the path, do you resonate with that step? And that resonance is the fulfillment, right? So the goal is kind of just an abstract thing to like help us align. And, you know, once we feel like we're walking a certain path that is meaningful to us, then you can be fulfilled right now. Just doing one action that you feel fits into this story. I like how you phrase like meaning as a story. If like you feel like this action fits into the story and like resonates with that story, then I feel like that's where fulfillment kind of comes from.
Totally. Yeah. I think when I think about it, I mean, even if you think you're doing nothing, like let's say I'm practicing meditation, but if I feel like the meaning of life is to discover the deepest depths of experience and truth, then simply sitting and meditating is fulfilling, because you are exploring what it means to just sit and be with your mind. And I know we wanted to talk about some other topics too. Freedom is a big one, because a lot of people feel like freedom their lack of freedom prevents them from being fulfilled. Like if you take an example of someone who's, working their 9-to-5 job, slaving away, doing something they don't really care for, they might not feel fulfilled at all. Their soul doesn't resonate with what they're doing 8 hours a day or more. And for those people, their reasoning for that is they need money to survive. So it's like a survival thing. What do you think about like survival instincts versus freedom? Because a lot of people are in that system, I mean, including us, we're all in that monetary behemoth of a system. How do we navigate fulfillment, and how does freedom play a role with all of this?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, the first thing that pops into my mind is Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Like, you have like self-actualization, that's one at the top, right? But below that, you have more base needs, survival needs, food, shelter, clothing, that sort of stuff. And it's easy for us to sit here and say, "Yay, let's all be fulfilled." Let's just. It's very idealistic. It can come across as very idealistic, because, if you have people that are feeling this societal pressure, they have familial pressure to walk certain paths in life that they don't necessarily resonate with, but there is that pressure and that mindset that was instilled in them as to what's realistic, and they feel like, it's kind of difficult to go against the expectations of so many people in your life that hold power over you too. And then there's the other thing, which is even more like, I don't know if more is the word, but it's also like extremely significant, which is people, who are in parts of the society that are impoverished, people that are oppressed, people that are trapped in kind of this cycle of poverty and needing to survive, and kind of having to do anything they can to eat, right? And if you can't eat, then how am I going to like sit here and talk to you about like being fulfilled, right? So, I mean, and the question of freedom comes in, because it's like, I guess freedom is intertwined with power, right? And many people may feel powerless because they're trapped in a certain like cycle in the society. They're trapped in a certain like station in society, and they don't have the power to get out of that. And so, if they had the freedom to get out of that, maybe they could have more of their base survival needs met, and then, start being fulfilled. So, and I mean, I'm not saying like, I think it's part of it too. Like an ingredient in fulfillment is those survival needs, right? I don't know. I don't think it's separate. I think probably that's part of what will make you fulfilled, like having these survival needs met.
Yeah, it's a good thing to talk about, because we don't want to be all like airy fairy. I mean, you got to have like the baseline stuff met. If I have a huge gash on my arm, I'm not concerned with fulfillment at the moment. I need to go to the hospital or stuff like that. I mean, my brain will just focus on that. It's tough. And then I guess where freedom comes in is, when people feel powerless, they don't feel fulfilled because they don't feel like they can move in that direction that aligns with their meaning. They feel like trapped, and they can't move in that story of meaning. So it doesn't feel resonant. And I guess in those situations, it's hard to feel like you can move in the direction that you want to move. So I guess we have to figure out if we're in the business, interesting word, but if our goal is to create a more fulfilled society, I think that's something we need to think about. And maybe we need to give these people an avenue where they don't see one. And I think part of doing this podcast is not only inspiring us to free ourselves from these mental barriers of, oh, this is not realistic, like you were saying. Oh, I can't be a painter because there's no money in that. It's freeing ourselves from that belief. But then also giving us the tools. We also need the tools to break free and really have the power to be able to like make some changes. Because with the beliefs, we don't have the actions. We need both. We need to integrate both.
Yeah.
So, yeah, what do you think about like creating new avenues for people to access this freedom and feel like they can be fulfilled?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's like a great problem to solve, right? That is, I think, a way that we can have a more fulfilled society, and which implies a society where most people are not struggling to survive. Because on one part you have like the mindset and belief, right? And the, you know, let's say we were talking about the example of a garbage man earlier, right? Where, you know, very likely that person is not fulfilled. They're doing it to survive.
Correct.
And we're okay. Let's do this. Let's explore this thought for a while. So bear with me. Perhaps it's possible that that person can be fulfilled because they feel like, I mean, maybe they value the idea of contributing to a cleaner society and playing that role. And I'm not saying, oh, if you're a garbage man, you should like look at the bright side and look at the good you're doing for society and like stay there. No, not at all. But I imagine there's a way that that person, let's assume they don't necessarily want to be a garbage man, right? But they have an avenue to get to where they really want to go. And this, what they're doing right now, is kind of just where they currently are in that journey, right? It's possible that they can then, having that hope, having that path, having that, ideally they have a community around them that is helping them and they're helping others, right? And together they're growing, and together they're walking a meaningful path towards something that they feel is a life worth living, right? If a person can have that, then the mindset piece can also be heightened, because then they can say, okay, this is a step along the way. Instead of like just being trapped here, I'm actually on this journey, and even though I'm here, while I'm here, I can still look at the value and the things I value within the thing I'm doing. But I think, that's like the mindset and the gratitude. But again, I don't want to say be grateful for where you are. I think the other piece that we need is that piece of having people feel like they are actually going to where they want to be. They're actually walking a fulfilled path. And I think some ingredients of that are like the community around them, right? And I think the systems in society that we have need to be changed in such a way that there are those paths, there are those avenues, there are those like, systematic mechanisms through which somebody who is, in an impoverished community, or in a certain station in life where they don't want to be, there is actually a way they can walk a path that they actually do want to walk. There is a way that they don't necessarily need to be trapped in a cycle of survival. There is a way that they can find people, find community, find tools, find access, that can help them walk along the path with other people, So I think, the goal would be to kind of just like have systematic ways, have systematic avenues for that kind of transition in
Yeah.
life.
Yeah. It's a huge difference actually when you give someone the avenue versus when they feel powerless. Like if you take the garbage man example, if he's just day to day doing the same thing over and over, thinking life is meaningless, why am I doing this? And you suddenly give that person an avenue to do what they actually, might feel more called to do, what their soul might feel more called to do. Then they have the opportunity to change their mindset And if they are that avenue and they feel like they can start walking that avenue, then their mindset can shift from like, oh, I'm just doing this day to day, like fuck my life. They can switch that to be like, well, what am I learning from each day? And they can contextualize each day as, you know, a new step on the path towards a more meaningful life. And suddenly being a garbage man becomes meaningful.
Yeah.
Because it's all these lessons they learn, which they can use on the avenue to become something greater, or to end up spending more time doing what they love. And when you contextualize that in a new story, the meaning of that position that they're in becomes a whole lot more meaningful. And that meaning really contributes to their fulfillment. But the other piece you were talking about was community. And yeah, being in the context of a community can be like extremely fulfilling, because I mean, we're social creatures, and part of one of our needs is human connection. And when we have that base of human connection, not only can we feel like secure and like we have someone to go home to, and like a base, like a home base, we also can inspire our fellow person, our fellow people, to walk on that same path of meaning. And I wanted to touch on like the spreading of how meaning spreads, or how resentment for life can spread, because I think that's like a really powerful idea too, in what we're doing here. Like I want to talk about like the ripple effects of some person who feels unfulfilled versus someone who does feel fulfilled, because this is going to be important for us to talk about. Like, can you speak upon that a bit?
Yeah, I mean, so part of the reason I think fulfillment, having a more fulfilled society can be important, is I think these kinds of things, these kinds of feelings that an individual has can spread. So let's say, I mean, it seems to me, right, that if you have a person that is unfulfilled and they feel not much freedom in life, and they feel resentment for life and the things that life has to offer, and they feel a lot of resentment for being trapped in where they are and things like that, that resentment can spread. And I mean, I feel like it does spread in many situations. And even take the example of like whether you encourage someone or you discourage someone. Like if in your life you've felt like, beaten down and it's not possible to do certain things, then, you may spread that in terms of discouraging other people, saying that's not realistic, like aim lower. Like these are things we hear. These are things that are spread. And so I think the opposite is true. I think if you have someone that is fulfilled and has, hope for life and society, and really believes that, anyone can be fulfilled and things like that, I think that sentiment also spreads. And, that belief spreads, which means you have more people going after what they desire and trying to live a life that resonates with their soul, right? And that seems to me to be like just just a happier society,
Yeah. When we talk about resonance, I mean, there are two different resonances. I mean, one of them is like resentment, pushing down your soul, and the other is giving life to your soul. I mean, it's a lot of this stuff, like living in alignment with our meaning, in alignment with our soul and bodies, is what makes life worth living. And I think what we're trying to do is give people that opportunity to realize their fulfillment in their daily lives. I mean, you don't have to be at your goal. It's more about realizing it in your daily lives where you are right now. And that can completely change the quality of your life. And no longer are you just wasting 8 hours a day slaving away. you're in a story and you're on a journey, and that really changes the quality of people's lives, and we want to improve the quality of our lives. Time wasted, time is the most precious resource. So, I mean,
Yeah, and I want to be clear, like, we're not necessarily advocating for, oh, just reframe your story and look at the bright side, you know, like, look at all the things you have to be grateful for, and then you'll feel fulfilled. No, I mean, yeah, belief is a huge part of it, because if you don't believe you can do something, you probably won't. And if you do believe you can do something, you'll probably try, and you have your chances of succeeding are greater. But the other side of it that I want to highlight as actually important is the paving the paths. Like when someone wants to be a writer, or if someone wants to be a rock climber, or someone wants to be an artist, there should be a path for that. Or someone wants to be a doctor, or like someone who's picking up cans on the street wants to do something that their soul aligns with. I think there should be more avenues for that, like more paved paths for that. And so if we, that's part of our mission at Nebulum. And if we, you and I and Nebulum and you guys watching or listening, and, governments can, work together to at least take steps in the direction of paving more of those paths, then I think that's a great way to, help people be more fulfilled and to like create that belief too.
Yeah, and that really just empowers more freedom. And I mean, a more free, fulfilled world is totally what we're after. And I think we also should talk about creativity next, because I think creativity also plays a huge role in terms of fulfillment. And people's creativity can really feel like super connected to their fulfillment. I'd love for you to speak a bit about that.
Creativity is such a powerful thing. Creation is such a powerful thing, right? I mean, everything we use was created. Everything, so, it's interesting how creativity kind of connects to freedom and fulfillment, because in one sense, I think creativity creates freedom. Because if you think about the phrase, necessity is the mother of invention, right? When you have a need, it's necessity. That implies some kind of constraint, some kind of need that's not being fulfilled. And sometimes, as we're talking about paving paths, sometimes the only way to fulfill that need or to get out of a certain constraint is to be creative and come up with something new, pave a new path in a sense. So creativity is what paves paths. I mean, the artists of this world kind of are the ones that explore ideas that are out there. And it's well known that science fiction fuels science, and music has such a big influence over the world. And I feel like artists kind of stand at the edge of society and pave new paths for the rest of us, And so I think creativity can be a way to get out of the constraints that we're currently experiencing and to pave new paths. And in that sense, it creates freedom and is somehow birthed out of the lack of freedom. So it's interesting. And then I think freedom also creates creativity too. Freedom also fuels creativity, because in freedom, you think of endless possibilities. You think of being able to do more things and having more ingredients in a sense, and basically being able to pull from more sources for a creative pursuit or a creative endeavor or an invention, right? And so when the possibilities are endless, you also get some like wild stuff being created. And so it's an interesting relationship with creativity and freedom, because I think they create each other. And I mean, this is a way I think many people can be aligned, because I think if you're really fulfilled and you're really in alignment, I suspect this idea probably needs to be examined more, but I suspect you're probably creating something, whether it's music or it's a bond or bonds. You know, I suspect there's some creative aspect of that fulfillment. And so, this is why we love creativity so much, in the things we do at Nebulum, helping artists and helping, people create creative careers, because it's, I think, a thing that leads to fulfillment, and a thing that, if more people are creative, we get more solutions to things. We get more paths paved, right? We're more change, right? So, yeah, that's kind of my initial thoughts on it. What do you think?
Yeah, that makes sense. I think, yeah, so many people have, out of constraints, created freedoms and created solutions that you would have never seen without those constraints. Mm-hmm. And I guess I wanted to touch on the imagination and how creativity is kind of like very core to being human, and the imagination is also a core part of being human. And I think creativity is bringing the imagination into reality. And so I think that's something so core to humanity. And why that's important, I guess, is that's how we create change and manifest our fulfillment. And so through our imagination, we can imagine something, and as we move along the path to fulfilling that imagination, that can be inherently fulfilling, and we can create solutions for problems or to enact change in the world. And like a good example, I guess, is artistry. Creative artistry can be hugely impactful to society and can make enormous amounts of change and can inspire millions of people. And I feel like that's part of what makes creativity so important. And then the other thing is creative people can make life more lively. I mean, like, if you think about an assembly line, it's just creating the same thing over and over again. And, that can be useful, but mass-produced things lose spirit, they lose character. And so creativity really infuses the spirit of creativity and beauty into daily life. And so I feel like that can contribute a huge amount to fulfillment.
Yeah. And it spreads, right? Like, just like we were talking about, how resentment can spread or fulfillment can spread. I mean, creativity, like creations, have this ripple effect too, right? Because if I create something and that thing I create, it's unique because, it comes from my experiences and my unique makeup inside my head and soul, or wherever it comes from. That might resonate in a very particular way with you or with someone else. And it can also impact their fulfillment. Right. So people connect with others' creations, right? And, if you think about Taylor Swift, an iconic artist of this era, right? She makes music, and, she takes her life experiences and she packages it through these sound waves that impact other people. That's her creation, and that touches other people, and that creates meaning for them, because they frame that in a way that resonates with the story of their own life, and that may enhance the meaning in their life and provide some avenue for fulfillment from them. And through that too, they bond with Taylor Swift, and they bond with the other people who Taylor Swift's songs resonate with. And so I think fulfillment can spread to the receiver of a creation, just like fulfillment can, be brought about through the creative process from the creator's side. Because Taylor Swift, who is packaging these, experiences into her songs, she, first of all, is probably deriving some resonance through that creative process. And she's bonding to other people through her the creations she's making, right? So I think there's fulfillment on both sides, and the side of the receiver, the side of the creator, and then as a group there's this group flow energy which comes about through this creative ripple effect.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's huge, like touching on the ripple effect and how it can have such a huge impact on like so many people, the creations that we make. I wanted to touch upon like not only how important creativity is. Actually, I'll say one more thing with that. I feel like creativity is so core to being human, and it involves imagination. And part of what makes creativity so fulfilling is that we imagine something and we want to bring it into reality because we think that it's something that can change people's lives, or it can change our lives. And that process could be super fulfilling. So not only is the creative process super fulfilling, but also it's that loop effect where the creation can affect so many people, and that can create a lot of creation. And just the power of creativity, I think we've really highlighted. I guess I wanted to also get into, how can people be creative? I think we're going to have probably a lot of episodes touching on this. But I wanted to quickly give a brief view of a philosophy that really brings a lot of, I don't know what to call it, I guess my creative process and what kind of takes the pressure off of it. For me is the idea that the universe is intelligent, and the universe, each of us is unique, and a unique instrument of the universe that we can express. We can sing the song of the universe in our own way. And so we are kind of the universe being, and so our creations are kind of part of that. And so how we tune into that and be vessels for that, to create stuff that's never before been seen, except by our own imagination, is through really deeply listening to our inner spirit, our inner voice, our inner self. And yeah, that's a philosophy that really resonates with me, and I feel like it could resonate with many other people. I know you've read Rick Rubin's book on that, on creativity, and I think he also mentions something very similar. But yeah, what do you think about that kind of philosophy?
Yeah, I mean, this idea that the universe is intelligent and it speaks through us, and creativity doesn't originate from us. It's an interesting idea. I like the way you said, like, we each sing the song of the universe in our unique way. That phrasing is like some Alan Watts type shit. But yeah, I think so. This idea, I think, because for me, there's so many different ways of looking at a particular thing. And for me, they're just different perspectives and different framings of it, which can help you in different ways, maybe different times of your life, maybe whatever. The thing is, I think people sometimes can feel like this is like woo-woo and some spiritual nonsense. But to me, it's definitely valid because, I will connect it to another perspective and another way of looking at it, which, can take some of the woo-woo-ness out of looking at it this way. For example, our brains are like just powerful synthesizers, right? It takes in information, stimulus, visual stimuli, auditory stimuli, and it filters it and makes sense of it and like produces some other stuff. And I mean, of course, AI is a big thing in our world now, and most of modern models are neural networks, which is modeled after us. But all they do is like they take in a bunch of data, and pipe them through some functions that create certain outputs. And that's what we do as brains and as people. We take in all our lived experience. We take in all, our genetic information, all our emotions, all the things that have had an impact on us, all the things that we consciously remember, as well as all the things that we might not even know that we've experienced, because a lot of our experience is subconscious. And, we kind of register, our brain may register a pattern that we are not explicitly conscious of. And so when you think of it that way, it's clear that we're taking in things from the universe, and what we are doing is repackaging it and mixing it with all our other different experiences that we've had, and then producing something from that process, right? So it's a completely valid idea that it didn't necessarily originate from us. It's a synthesis of all the experiences we've had. That's why, two different creations, if you create something and someone halfway across the world creates something, they can have very similar aspects to them, because there's a lot of overlap in our experiences as humans. But as well, they can be so different because our unique combination of experiences is unlike any other combination of experiences. And so I definitely think it's valid that looking at it from that way can take the pressure off, because then it becomes less about manufacturing something and trying to initialize a forceful process. Rather, it becomes listening and feeling what patterns you already have inside your intuition, feeling what you've already resonated with, and feeling what resonates with you in this moment. And it's a similar skill to the skill of listening for that resonance, as we were talking about fulfillment, right? Because there's something that's just going to resonate more, right? And I mean, I like the analogy of waves, and maybe I'm venturing back into some woo-woo territory when I talk about waves and all of that. But if you think of what we do and our energy as waves, and what happens outside of us as another wave, there can be things we do that resonate with the outside wave. So if you use the analogy of music, and you can have two sounds, if you sing a note and I sing a note, they can be dissonant, right? They can, clash kind of like, or they can start to harmonize, be like, and, listening to music and listening to harmony, even if you're not well versed in what harmony is, you can often feel that, when two different sounds harmonize. And I think it's a similar feeling when we are resonant with our actions along the path of fulfillment, or, whether it's what action to take inside of a creative pursuit. It's not auditory, but there's an intuitive feeling that this feels good, or this feels like what's supposed to happen,
Yeah. Yeah, you're kind of bringing it back to fulfillment, and like how the theme of harmony actually is like a huge piece of, both of these topics, creativity and fulfillment, and just being in harmony with ourselves, and the skill of listening and being sensitive to what's going on within ourselves. There's so much we could touch on with these topics. I think we're definitely going to have to dive a lot deeper. But I think this episode was more of kind of communicating our values, our current perspectives, and yeah, just overall the foundations with which we want to build this series on. So I think we've done a sufficient job of kind of going through the different themes we wanted to touch on and the themes that we will continue to explore by bringing in different artists, different creators, and different, ideas in general. Yeah, well, what would you like to say to that and to our audience?
Yeah, so to kind of like tie it all together, this was a very exploratory, like exploring ideas type of episode. And I think the reason I care about these topics of fulfillment, creativity, freedom is because it's, so prevalent in the world, and like these, fulfilled feeling will spread throughout society. And so I would love to, for this podcast and for us to play a role in helping it spread in such a way, right? And I think the reason we love creativity at Nebulum and why we want to help artists is, as we mentioned before, like creativity can pave paths to freedom and therefore fulfillment, right? Necessity is the mother of invention again. Like, we can come up with creative solutions. We can come up with creative ways to package stories and messages and these kinds of things that create more fulfillment in the world. And so I'll end by asking the audience a question. So as you go about your day, after listening to this episode, and, as you go about your life, I have something I'd love for you to ponder, and I'd love to hear back. And the question is, how can we pave paths? So how can we create systems in the society which make it more realistic and more possible for people to follow paths that they align with, for someone to become a writer, musician. And it doesn't have to be like these canonically creative careers either. Or, it could just be for someone from an impoverished community to become a business owner or a doctor. Like for someone to just, no matter what station they are in life, walk a path that is fulfilling for them. So I really want to create a world where we pave more of those paths and make it easier for people to walk these paths. So again, the question is, how can we pave more of these paths? What do you think? I'd love to hear your ideas on this.
Yeah. And one other thing I would love for people to ask themselves is how would the world be different? How would the people they interact with be different? And how would they be affected by feeling like they had a path that they could follow that felt meaningful and aligned for them? So yeah, just ask yourself, what would it be like to be walking a path which felt aligned and felt like I was moving on to along my meaning and my story of being, and how would the world be affected if more people felt that way? I would love for people to explore that and just, ponder it.
Yeah. So some things for you to ponder. All right. I really, really am grateful for you. If you're still here, you are the GOAT. Thank you so much for listening. And I really hope this was fulfilling for you to listen to. I mean, first episode, we'll definitely get better and get deeper into some of these topics, as well as get more tactical in some episodes too. So hopefully that can bring a lot of value. But anyway, thank you so much and really enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.